Hello people, today I'm going to be making a video showing you some vegetables and some fruits you can sow during the month of March. We'll start off with beetroot. So variety boltardi is a very good variety to sow at this time of year because it is resistant to bolting. There are other varieties, but boltardi is a good tried and tested variety for early sowing. The way I like to sow early beetroot seeds are in cell trays such as this. So you can see here I've got some cell trays of multi-purpose compost, and you can see that here the seeds have germinated nicely, so they are doing well. And what I'll do when these reach a more mature size, I will transplant them out into the ground, probably at the allotment. Lettuce. So a good variety to sow at this time of year is all the year round, and this is a really nice lettuce, very sweet in flavour I find, and it has resistance to bolting. So this part of the UK we can get some of the warmest summers, so well, by UK standards anyway. So good resistance to bolting, which bolting is basically when a lettuce or another plant goes to seed caused by higher temperatures. So lettuce all the year round. So down here in my overwintered vegetable salad area, here I have some here. So this is lettuce all the year round, and this could be eaten like this, but with the warmer temperatures that are here at times anyway and coming, this will grow and this will be a little bit bigger and ready to be eaten. So less lettuce all the year round. I made some earlier sowings, so this is some here. Now winter density, this is generally classed as an overwintering lettuce ready for a nice crop in the spring. But you can sow it year round, as it's stated on the back of the packet. So I've also got some winter density here that I'm going to be planting out. Little gem cos lettuce, so I've planted one per cell here in the cell tray. And when they get a bigger size, I will lift the whole cell out, just push it out like that, take it out and directly transplant it into the ground. I've sown 4 varieties of tomatoes: Gardener's Delight, Sun Gold, Latte and Moskvich. Now tomatoes don't like going below a temperature of about 10 degrees C, which is around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So I recommend that you plant them up and then germinate them on a windowsill inside. I have some Gardener's Delight here, which I sowed probably about 3 weeks or so ago. You can see them there. They were germinated on a indoor windowsill, and then I brought them out here. Now we are getting frosts. I think it's Friday night. It's going to get down to about -2 degrees C, about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So that will certainly be enough to finish these off. Now I may take them back in. I've got them out here so they don't go leggy. Now I'll just show you a little bit of protection I'm giving them. I'm keeping them here along with some cucumbers and some chilies, and in a polystyrene container like that, so that will protect them to a degree. But tomorrow night I'll probably take them back in. Broad beans. Now broad beans are a great one to grow, so different varieties. If it's particularly cold where you are, Aquadulsa Claudia is a great one. The Sutton is a good one if you are in an exposed location because they are dwarf plants. And if you want a really quick one I'm having a go at is Express. So many different varieties of broad bean. These are some here that I planted up the later part of last year, earlier part of this year. And I've got some here planted up. You can see they're starting to germinate. Now broad beans will germinate perfectly well like this in cell trays or whatever in an unheated polytunnel or greenhouse. If you're in a milder area, you could also straight sow them now into the open ground. Spinach. Spinach is a great one to grow now. Spinach will germinate in lower temperatures, so you could sow that in cell trays or pots in your greenhouse or polytunnel and it should germinate. I have some here. I probably planted these about 3 weeks to a month ago. Carrots. Now pick a nice early variety and you can probably sow them in the open ground if you're living in a milder area, and maybe if your soil is not too heavy. If you've got thick clay, you might be better off waiting a while because clay soil tends to hold on to more moisture after winter and therefore is slower to heat up. So also what I'd recommend if you're going to straight sow carrots at this time of year is sow them and maybe put a nice bit of fleece over the top just to give them that little bit of extra warmth for germination. On the 15th of February I actually sown some carrot seeds here. So I've got 2 varieties. Paris Market, which is a globe one, great if you've got heavy clay soil for example, and here I've got James Scarlet Intermediate. So I'm expecting them to germinate relatively soon. They will appreciate the extra warmth the microclimate of the polytunnel is providing. Komatsuna, Japanese green. So I grew this last year, and it didn't seem that slugs, snails or birds were too interested in it. It also has drought resistance, it's fully hardy, so it's a very nice plant to grow. Well, you can see I planted some of this up already in some cell trays, and what I'll do is when it matures, in fact I could probably put it out now, I will plant these individual cells into the ground, probably at the allotment. Spring onions. Now, white Lisbon is commonly grown at this time of year, and I also have some other varieties on the go. Redbeard and Feast. This here is Redbeard, and this here is Feast. So you can see with regards to the spring onions, there's more than one plant in each cell, and what I'll do is lift out the whole thing and transplant it into the ground. Summer cabbage. Loads of varieties of that one. I'm growing this here, so this is Offenham 2 Flower Spring. Now, I planted them out into this container. I believe I germinated these indoors. Now, the problem that's gone here is I've let them get a little bit too big before I've pricked them out. You don't really want to let cabbages, brassicas get this size before you prick them out, because they put down rather large roots and they can suffer from root disturbance. So prick them out before they get to this stage. This is a better example here. So I've got some curly kale here, so that's a brassica also. And you can see that they're in cell trays there. There's like 1 there, 2 there, something like that. I'm not averse to having maybe, 2 growing in 1 cell tray like this and then planting it out. With regard to brassicas, make sure you protect them, because everything seems to want to eat them, okay? Particularly the cabbage white caterpillars laid on by the butterflies in the summer. Peas are great to sow at this time of year. I have Champion of England tall climbing pea, and I have Oscar early pea here. This is a dwarf pea, and this is what it says, a tall pea. Here I have a variety called Jessie, and I sown these on the 18th of February. And with regards to these, you eat the peas and the pods. So with peas, I like to sow about 3 peas per cell tray, and what I'll do is I'll transplant the whole thing in one down the allotment. They'll need sticks or canes or whatever to climb up. Leeks. Leeks are a great thing to sow at this time of year. There are 2 ways in which I like to grow leeks. One way I like to grow leek seeds is in pots like this, and what I do is I plant some leek seeds in them. I let them get about this sort of size, and then I prick them out, dib a hole in the ground, put the plant in, put some water in there so it washes a little bit of dirt in with it to hold it, cover it up and then leave it, and then with regards to the size of the hole, the leek should grow to that size roughly. Another way I like to grow leeks is like this, in cell trays. I've got Lion 2 Prize Taker here and Musselburgh leeks here, and then what I do is I pull out the whole thing like that, all in one go, and transplant the whole thing. What you'll get is, other than get 1 big leek, you'll get a few small ones, and that can be a nice little bit of variety to add to your leek growing. Ginger. Now, I grew a crop of ginger last year. I found it very interesting, good fun to do it. So I'll link that video down below, and you can look at that if you'd like to learn more about growing ginger in the UK. Radishes. Now, radishes are a great one to grow, so many different varieties, and you can eat the tops as well. So with regards to growing radishes, you could put them in the open ground now, probably. Now, what I would advise if you're growing radishes outside at this time of year is maybe put some fleece over the ground just to give them a little bit of extra warmth in order to germinate. Aubergines. Now, aubergines can be great fun, and I'm actually growing 2 varieties, long purple aubergine and Czech early. Now, aubergines like a temperature of about 25 degrees C, which is about 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've got some inside, and they're actually on a north-facing windowsill, and they're doing quite well. So when they're a bit bigger, I'll bring them out here, and you can have a look at them. Peppers and chilies. Now, they like a temperature of about 20 to 25 degrees C. That's about 68 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So relatively difficult to achieve this time of year outside here in the UK. So once again, a good way to germinate them is on a windowsill inside. Now, I'll show you a little bit about management of them. So I planted these out about a month or so ago in these cell trays. So I've got hot peppers here, habanero, and sweet ones, California Wonder. So what you want to do is make sure you protect them from frost. You can keep these inside, and I've noticed that they don't actually seem to go too leggy, and I reckon a lot of this is because they're not a particularly fast growing plant. So if they do start to go a bit leggy, what you can do is you can sow them down a little bit. So bring them outside like this. Now, This is variety Basque. I sown these around December, January time, so you can see they're looking really healthy. Now I've brought them out here and I'm keeping them once again in the polystyrene tray for some extra warmth, and if it gets cold, which it does at night, I can put that down on there like that for the extra heat. Now, as I stated before, there's going to be a frost tomorrow night, so they're probably going to go back in, so make sure you are vigilant. Now I've got some rhubarb seeds here, so I may look into these. You can put turnips on that list. Now I'm having a go at some early cucumbers, so I've got variety here, Market More. Now once again, like the tomatoes, the chilies and the peppers, they are not frost hardy, so you've got to be vigilant. Get ready to get them back inside should frost come. You can see how I planted them like this in cell trays, 1 per cell. So it's very important to be aware of the temperature where you are. So here in Essex at the moment, we're getting daytime temperatures about 6 degrees C, which is around 43 degrees Fahrenheit. However, on Friday night, it's going to get down to about -2, which is about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So be very careful if you're growing anything that is not frost hardy at this time of year. So for example, cucumbers, tomatoes, chilies, peppers, aubergines, etc. You've got to be incredibly careful. So I'm ready to take those inside. So you can see I'm going very much for growing initially in cell trays and then planting out at a later date. And the reason why I'm doing this is to get that little bit of extra time at the start of the season to hopefully get crops a little bit quicker and to hopefully ensure better germination rates than if you try to germinate them straight in the ground. And the 2 growing mediums I'm using. So this is multi-purpose compost, okay? And this here is multi-purpose compost mixed with a little bit of sharp sand. So there's about 3/4 multi-purpose compost and 1/4 sharp sand, which helps for the drainage. Instead of sharp sand, you could also use vermiculite or perlite added to multi-purpose compost to help with drainage, and this can lessen the chance of damping off, which is a fungal disease caused by low light levels and damp conditions. Now, if you want a quicker germination rate, what you can do is germinate inside on a windowsill, and then when they're a little bit bigger, what you can do is bring them out into a greenhouse, polytunnel, cold frame or tomato house, and what that will do is hopefully stop them going leggy and grow them on. Now you can only do this with things that are hardy, okay? You certainly would not consider just bringing out, say, tomatoes at this time of year and leaving them hoping for the best without protection, because the frost will kill them. So be very careful, but don't be afraid to use microclimates. Now I'm going to be watering out here probably about once or twice a week. Once again, being very careful not to overwater because of damping off. And what would be a good idea is to water underneath with a tray so that you don't wet the leaves too much at the top. Anyway, getting dark now. Thank you very much for viewing. If you like my work, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.